Hi, and welcome to the Whiskey Waiter. Today we are doing this in English because we have a very special guest, and I can say good morning to New Zealand because we have Matt from the Pokeno distillery here. I hope I spell this correctly. Welcome, Matt. May you introduce yourself and your whiskey a little bit to us, please.
Perfect. Thanks, Manuel. Okay, good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me on. So the Pokeno Distillery, I founded in 2017. Been in the whiskey industry for most of my life, mostly in Scotland. We moved to New Zealand in 2013 with the family. And once we decided to stay, it was kind of okay. What shall we do in New Zealand? We wanted to do something and build something. And the only thing I need to do is make whiskey. So we decided it would be whiskey. So at the time, there were very, very few single malt distilleries in New Zealand. So we we started off by doing it. It took us a good 2.5 years to do the planning to get things ready to go. We started building in 2017, commissioned in 2018, and started laying spirit down at the end of 2018. So the distillery in itself is we batch distill. So we use 550 kilos of barley in each mashing. We have a half-ton mash tun. We have four 3,000 liter fermenters. So we'll do a long ferment for about 80 hours. We kind of push it to the maximum that we can push it in there. And then we have two stills. We have a wash still, which is 3,900 liters, and a spirit still, which is 3,600 liters. So the spirit still is oversized compared to the wash still because it allows us to do two wash distillations for a spirit distillation. So that kind of allows us to kind of harmonize this profile, but as well it saves energy, which is pretty good. I suppose a couple of things which kind of make us a little bit different from other whiskies, and you'll find a lot of similarities here with kind of Indian whiskies and Taiwanese whiskey, etc. Is the climate that we have here in New Zealand. So the climate's absolutely crazy. Pokeno is based in a valley over the volcanic hills in the North Island, subtropical North Island of New Zealand. We're sitting at 97% humidity most of the time, and we're just about below sea level. So absolutely crazy. Our Angel's share at the moment is sitting at somewhere between 9 and 10% a year. So that is
Oh,
absolutely
that's quite a lot.
that's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot.
Ouch.
I cried when I find that out.
Yeah.
So I think that has its challenges, but it also gives us a very, very kind of smooth whiskey very early on as well, which is good. Although you're very, very unlikely to see a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old ever from my distillery. It's obviously one of the things that we work with. Another thing that we do a little bit differently at Pokeno is that we're aiming to make a really, really sweet and smooth whiskey, and so we distill very, very slowly. So our distillation rate through the spirit still is probably about 2 liters per minute, which is really slow. It creates lots of issues with condensating coils, etc. Necessity for Ogden pumps and stuff like that to allow us to do that. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create the maximum amount of reflux in the still. And by creating that maximum amount of reflux, that maximum amount of copper contact, what it's doing is sweetening and smoothing that whiskey as it's moving through the process. For us, a still run will take kind of probably about 8.5 hours. So it's a very, very long time. And what we're doing is pushing also that ABV up. So we're probably sitting somewhere between a double and a triple distillation. So we'll start collecting our spirit at 77% alcohol, and we'll stop collecting at 72% alcohol. Where obviously traditionally in Scotland, most distillers will start collecting at 69 and collect down to 62. So that's probably one of the key differences for ourselves. We're a pretty kind of small team at the distillery. There's 9 of us today, 100% family-owned business. We do everything on site. So we have 2 maturation warehouses. We do our bottling, we do our filtration when we do filter, and we also have a cooperage. We have the only cooperage in New Zealand with a master cooper that we brought over from Scotland last year. So it's kind of a complete package with ourselves.
Wow, this sounds amazing and sounds like a lot of work for you.
It's fun.
Small team.
It's a passion project. It's not work.
It's a passion project. Okay. So we have 3 bottlings here in Germany for a couple of weeks now, I think.
Yeah.
And I think we have We all have them here today. We'll start with the origin. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about this whiskey?
Yeah, completely. So the mash bill for all of our whiskies that you're tasting today is absolutely the same. So it's 100% distiller's malt. The malt that we use is Laureate. So it's an old Scottish malt. We use it because it works really, really well for us. It's really, really sweet barley. It's all New Zealand malt, 100% New Zealand malt from the South Island. So this one has had a maturation in first full bourbon casks for between 3.5 and 4 years. It's a whiskey that we've bottled at 43%, and we've bottled at 43% because that's my personal preference for drinking whiskey. So my choice. Debatable, not debatable, good, not good. Lots of conversations can be had around there.
Your distillery, your choice.
Yeah, that's it. So we decided to do that. And yeah, for me, it was really important that I wanted to bring out one of my first whiskies in first fill bourbon cask, not to mask it with any other casks, to let the profile of the whiskey show through. We've taken an incredible amount of care and attention to try and make the best spirit we possibly can, and that wasn't to mask it with other casks. So yes, we are on a young spirit still, but a spirit which, at the end of the day, we've lost 30% of the barrel off the angel share. So it's quick maturation. So we wanted to show people what the actual spirit of what the profile of the spirit was. So I mean, it's I'll let you guys have a nose and a taste, although I guess you've done this before, and you tell me what you think, and then I can bounce back out.
I have a question regarding the 43%. From the nerd perspective, do you chill filtration? And I assume that the color is fully natural, but do you chill filter then?
Fully natural color. We do chill filter. So the reason we chill filter as well, and this is kind of an experience thing on my side, is that there's a lot of markets which can experience temperature shock in market, can have flocculence reform, and there's lots of markets which don't understand when that happens, and the risk from New Zealand of having to deal with that from a long way away is just not worth it.
Speaking of markets, which markets are your priority and which markets you're exporting to?
So we've initially launched into Germany, into the UK, into France, into the US, and Australia, as well as domestically in New Zealand. So that's the first kind of five markets we've gone into. We're launching into 5 new markets next year. It was or this year now. It was really important for me that we want to build the brand properly, and what I don't want to do is get to the stage where I'm having to put the brand on allocation because we've launched into too many markets at the start. So the idea is to accompany the growth in the key markets that we're doing at the start, and then when we are able to launch that. The distillery has a capacity of, where we're sitting at the moment, probably around about $100,000 a year. By adding a couple of fermenters on, we can take that to $250,000 quite easily. So capacity is not a major issue, but we are not doing any contract distilling. We've not sold any founders casks. We've not done it. It's all about keeping stock for the brand. And so we've been gradually increasing the distillation each year to accompany the future growth. We've got a very kind of measured growth plan for that.
Very nice. We have some questions in the chat right now. It's with a high angel share, does the alcohol increase in the barrel over the time?
No, it doesn't, but it doesn't decrease a lot either. So what we're doing is we're casking 63.5% alcohol. We're tending to pull out of barrel after 3.5, 4 years around 61.5, 62.
Okay. And the second question is, are you planning to do a bottling with local barley version?
It's interesting because obviously it is New Zealand, 100% New Zealand barley. We've looked at this with our maltsters. Developing a new, I didn't actually realize how complicated it was to develop a new strain of barley. Apparently it's not something which is, apparently they have to go through multitudes of tests, and it can take 5 or 10 years to develop a new strain of barley and get it right. In New Zealand, we were developing a native New Zealand barley strain of barley. We did a few tests in it last year. It was awful to work with. It stuck to the coils. It was not fun at all, kind of thing. So I would love to do that. I'm really happy that we're working with 100% New Zealand grown barley today. That was something I did want to do. I think a local strain is probably a few years down the road at this point.
Okay. So Ash, Eike, and Jason, what is your nose so far?
Barley sugar.
Mhm.
It's very sweet.
Yeah, sweet and
Yeah, it is sweet.
Fruity. I almost had a hint of a really good white wine, and I think the nose is more rather simple, but it's honest, and I really like that.
Kind of
It's
reminds
in-
me of a. Excuse me.
No, sorry.
It kind of reminds me a bit of Glenmorangie, the original.
Matt used to work there.
I was there for 10 years, but it's not Glenmorangie.
So
It
you
does
have
smell a
worked
lot
at
like it, though.
Glenmorangie and Tullibardine, so you have
Yeah.
quite some experience in the whiskey industry.
That's right. Yes.
So I think it's time to try the first one.
How do you say slange or
Yeah.
something else in New Zealand?
You'd probably just say cheers.
Cheers.
There's
Yeah,
no,
cheers.
there's no
Cheers.
cheers. I won't join you guys. It's a bit early for me. I've just had my coffee.
Yeah.
No problem.
6:40 a.m., right?
That's right. 6:40 a.m. in the morning. It's but it is interesting what you were saying about the sweetness. So that it's got an incredible sweetness on it. It really has. You can get that straight away on the nose, and that's from all that reflux in the still. And I was interested, Eike, from what you were saying about the fruit notes as well, because what we've noticed as well is, I mean, our water that we use is very heavy in manganese and very, very heavy in iron. When we first started refining the new make, we're getting these really, really cool kind of citrus notes through it. It's almost kind of orange peel, grapefruit pith, etc., and the rest of it. And it's very, very fruit forward on the nose. But I think that's as well, and I may be wrong here, but when you're maturing a Scotch single malt, a lot of the Scotch single malts have a lot of those kind of vibrant fruit notes in the new make, but after a long maturation, a barrel of 10, 12, 15 years, the wood's gradually taking over. With our quick maturation, the wood's not got the time to take over. So in a lot of these New World whiskies, if you think about Paul John, if you think about other products like that, they're very, very fruit forward. They're very, very vibrant. And I think that's something with New World whiskies that we're actually getting more and more, which I think is great.
On the palate, I don't have this overload of fruits. I had an overload on sweetness. In the first note, this barley sugar and vanilla, the orange you mentioned, and I find it is really round. It's well done. In the end, I have a little taste that is fairly young, but it's
Yes. Me too.
into it and it suits it very well.
But I also have a little bit of oak in it.
Yeah, but
So
just a hint. It's not
yes,
overtaking.
a hint, but it's there.
Mhm.
Speaking of oak, is there any New Zealand oak, New Zealand
Ah,
native oak,
interesting.
and which you can use for casks maybe in the future?
So it's an interesting question. So we're actually at the moment with a small group in New Zealand. There's a small group of very passionate distillers, and we're at the moment working together to put legislation into place, because there's no legislation in New Zealand around single malt whiskey today. And the legislation that we've written actually stipulates that the whiskey must be aged in wooden casks, not oak casks. So that's also going to allow us the freedom to experiment with other woods. Hence me having built a cooperage. Obviously, there is a plan to do some trials with other woods. Watch this space. It's very new for us. I was interested, Eike, to get you're completely right on what you're saying there. So there's this kind of mid palate. There's almost a little bit of pepper clove, which comes into the thing, but then that pepper clove disappears. And I'm not quite sure why that pepper clove comes in mid palate, but then it kind of disappears. You think it might carry on, but it doesn't. It disappears, and that fatty mouthfeel comes back, which at the start I wasn't a major fan of, a little bit of pepper clove, but actually I quite like it now, because there's kind of a bit of spice, and then it kind of smoothens out again.
So your whiskies are 3.5 to 4 years old at the
Yes.
moment.
Yeah.
What is the age you want to achieve with your whiskies? The average age.
Crystal ball.
Okay, you don't.
I don't. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, that's the great thing with every we are maturing so quickly with a 9% angel share per year. For us, 6 months makes an enormous difference. Already in the product. I think you're going to get to the point where we've got quite a sweet and delicate spirit. That's what we were trying to do. So there's going to get to the point where the wood starts taking over, and that I don't want to happen. So will the ideal age, will the maximum age be 6, 7? I mean, we're happy with the spiritus at the moment. It's drinking well at the moment, so it will only evolve and kind of etc. and the rest of it. But it may be that Origin already always stays around that age point kind of thing, and then we bring other products out in the future because we actually quite like the vibrancy of that young spirit there. I think for me, an age statement's going to be complicated, very, very complicated. The business model's not going to look very good if it is. But yeah, I think that it's watch this space. It's a journey, and we're really keen to see what's going to happen. We've got lots of other interesting stuff coming out in different woods, etc. Even different mash bills in the future. But we've kind of started off with this core range of 3 products and 3 very different products to try and kind of showcase the different kinds of spirit we can put out. And I think gradually, once that core range has been implanted, then we'll kind of add other stuff and more interesting stuff coming on.
So you've dumped some barrels. Are you reusing them, or are you just sticking with first fill?
First fill, 100% first fill. To be honest with you, we are with the kind of maturation rates that we've got, we're taking so much out of that barrel, out of that first maturation, that the second maturation just would not give what we want, and so we've decided no, it's 100% first fill. Again, it's not an economic decision because it doesn't make a lot of sense, but we've said, especially in New Zealand, because it's expensive getting barrels to New Zealand as it is. But no, 100% first fill, and then we sell the barrels on to breweries, to people like that afterwards. So.
Thank you.
Which kind of casks do you have in your warehouse besides bourbon?
So the bourbon casks we use, we work with Brown-Forman. So it is ex-Jack Daniels, ex-JD casks. We then work with New Zealand red wine casks. We sherry casks. So we have both butts and hoggies. We work with Miguel Martin in Spain there. So we've got PX, Oloroso, Amontillado, Moscatel. We've got quite a lot of virgin casks that we do stuff in. We've got some SDR casks. We've got port casks. We've got quite a lot of interesting stuff hanging around.
Something very
I saw a porter cask from a brewery close to you.
Sorry,
a porter cask.
You got. Did you get a bottle of Prohibition?
No, I don't. I haven't got a bottle. It's a single cask, which are only for the New Zealand market, I think.
Yeah. So we've done what we did is we've done a collaboration with a local brewery called Liberty Brewing, who do a Prohibition porter at 13.9%. So we actually lend them the casks. They age the porter in it for a year, give us the cask back, and then we've done a full maturation of first fill, followed by a year in the porter cask. And that's taken some real cool chocolate and cocoa notes out. It's really, really good.
Would love to try this one, but I think I don't get the chance to try it.
I don't think you can bring it over from New Zealand. It's going to be it's in duty free.
As you said, there you have the freedom to use any wood that you like. Do you have any casks that are not so typical, like common? So like in Germany, the German distillers can use every wood they like as well. So do you use something like cherry wood or chestnut, like that?
So there won't be any cherry wood or chestnuts and stuff like that. What we are going to try and do is we're going to try and do some experiments to make casks out of native New Zealand wood. So this is very new for us. Our Cooper arrived 2 months ago. We're equipping the cooperage at the moment. We've almost fully equipped it, and the first cask trials are at the end of January. So the challenge is going to be what native wood can we actually make casks out, which native wood will actually bend, which will not be too porous, which will be etc. We've got a range of woods that we're looking at the moment, but watch this space and ask me the question in a couple of months' time. I'll be able to give you the answer.
Are there any regulations you have to look for New Zealand whiskey?
So the regulations are being written at the moment. So we've kind of written the chart. So it's kind of distillation in stills which are majority copper. It is maturation for a minimum of 2 years. It's maturation in wooden casks in New Zealand. It's bottled in New Zealand, so there's no transport of bulk overseas, etc. And the rest of it, they're the key elements in that legislation which is coming through. But at the moment, it's very much kind of a draft, a charter. And we've now got to work at putting that into legislation, which actually is a process which takes time.
Of course. Should we add to the second whiskey? We have the revelation for the second one.
So revelation. So what we do in Pokeno is I don't do a lot of finishing. What we tend to do is we tend to age the new make in the different casks from day one. So we'll fill new make into the red wine cask, new make into the virgin cask, new make into the sherry cask, do a full maturation in those casks. What we'll do is we'll then kind of put our different whiskies together in a vat, but we'll then put them back into cask for a minimum of 3 months to marry together before we actually bottle the products. So Revelation has got a percentage of whiskey fully matured in New Zealand red wine casks. The New Zealand red wine, because I know you're going to ask the question, it was from the Hawke's Bay area, this one, and it was a Merlot Malbec Cab Sav, which was the red wine, so kind of Bordeaux type blend. And so we've assembled this with a higher percentage of first fill bourbon than the New Zealand red wine casks. And then we've put that back into barrel to marry for 3 months. The idea for this was in all of our spirit, what we're trying to do is we're not trying to dominate the profile of the spirit. We're trying to accompany it and let other flavors come through, but not kill off those lovely little citrus notes that we've got to start and the sweetness kind of thing. But it's amazing how much the New Zealand red wine casks have affected this.
I just got the information that my microphone wasn't working very well. Is it better now?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So this is New Zealand red wine, right?
Yeah, New Zealand red wine.
Which type of red wine? Which?
It's obviously not working too.
Maybe his headphones weren't working.
It's a Hawke's Bay wine. So it is a mixture of Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Malbec.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a Bordeaux blend type red wine.
I was focusing on the microphone. I'm sorry.
Can you share with us a percentage of the bourbon and the red wine? Is it?
I'll tell you, it's approximately 65 to 70% on the bourbon and 30 to 35% on the red wine casks.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And like I say, once we've kind of blended that together, we'll put that back into casks for 3 months to marry before we and we actually put it back. And I know you're going to ask the question, so I think we put it back into the same cask we've emptied.
I was going to ask about your vatting tank, or what do you use for that?
What we didn't want to do is, given the fact that we'd got the product, we got it happy where it was, we didn't want to then put it in a different type of cask, which would then change the profile. So by putting it back into the same cask it's come out of, that's allowing that kind of profile to just carry on.
Mm-hmm.
I get the typical berry sweetness notes from this Revelation that is typical for a red wine maturation. But if I go back to the first one, to the origin, it's now having 100% vanilla. It's so big on the vanilla side in the nose. It's really lovely.
It's that sweetness and smoothness is what we were looking for, and it's really kind of
it was outstanding right now, because I didn't get the vanilla there at first, but now in the comparison, it's so obvious.
If I may ask one more question about the red wine cask, are they made out of American oak or is it European oak? I'm pretty sure it's not going to be New Zealand oak, is it?
No, it's not. It's not New Zealand oak. It was actually French oak.
Okay. Wow. Good.
Very good. Can you tell us a little bit about the name Pokeno? Where does it come from, and what does it mean?
It's actually the name of the village. So Pokeno is the village. It's a village of about 8,000 people. It's a pretty recent village. It used to be an old traditional village in a Maori settlement at the base of the Waikato Hills. It's developed as a commuter village for Auckland over the last kind of 6 or 7 years. So there's about 8,000 people living there today. We chose to build the distillery there for two reasons. One was because of the position with the volcanic hills around it in the valley. We knew the maturation was going to be quicker, etc. And the second was the water as well, because we have the water source, the spring underneath the distillery, so we will pipe directly from the spring into the distillery. They were the two key reasons for doing it. So yeah, Pokeno is simply the name of the village. I'm not a fluent Maori speaker, so I wouldn't tempt a translation, but the kind of rough translation would be spirit of the night kind of thing of the Maori name, which is
okay. So your warehouses are at the distillery.
Yes, so the warehouse is at the distillery. So we have at the distillery we have the one kind of building with the brewery and the stills for the whole distillation process. Next door to that we have a 300 square meter first cask warehouse. We then have a second cask warehouse of about 500 square meters next door, which we're just starting to fill up now. And then we have a vat filtration room, a bottling hall, a finished goods, dry goods warehouse, and a cooperage on the side. So the whole footprint of the site today is about 1,200 square meters.
So how many casks do you have in stock at the moment?
Oh, we're probably sitting at the moment at 2,500 to 3,000 at the moment.
Good.
So we're distilling. I mean, at the moment we're distilling about as he gets the calculator out. We're distilling between 550 and 600 casks a year at the moment.
Okay, nice.
And that is just kind of we don't want to distill too much. We don't want to have to compromise. It's everything we're doing at the distillery is kind of this with spirit of no compromise. So for me, it really is a passion project. It's about making the best possible whiskey we possibly can with no compromise in anything we do. So I don't want to have to compromise my positioning, my product, my quality for selling more volume for sales, etc. So it was all about a measured growth to allow us to make sure that we're not growing too quick, we're not growing too slow, and we've got sufficient stock there just to accompany that growth that we do. So we'll carry on increasing the distillation each year, but with a very kind of slow graph up.
Do you plan to mature some casks in the future in different locations in New Zealand, maybe closer to the sea, or no?
It's funny. It's people have asked me this question. People have said, well, why don't you send it down to the South Island? So if you send it down to the South Island, it's like the Alps. You'll get your 2% evaporation a year. You won't lose as much stuff. Or why don't you climate control your warehouse? Because that way, you won't lose as much. I'm making Pokeno whiskey. Yeah, if I want to make Pokeno whiskey, it has to be matured in Pokeno. And if I want to control the climate, I'm no longer making New Zealand whiskey. I'm making a Scotch whiskey in New Zealand, or we're making a Kiwi whiskey. We're making a New World whiskey. We're not making a Scotch whiskey. So for me, any attempt to control the climate or change the maturation means that I'm not making my whiskey anymore. So yes, and I think no, we're going to keep on maturing it in Pokeno. We're going to keep on crying when we see the losses, and
fair enough.
Hopefully make whiskey that people enjoy.
Turn your angel share that you naturally have into your benefits. So
that's it. It's
part of the style.
Yeah, it is. It's the Pokeno style. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
Okay, let's try the second one. Cheers.
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 I felt that it was much creamier. Well done.
Mm-hmm. But also very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That sweetness comes through in all of the products, which is carries through. You do get this real creaminess in the mouth, and you get those soft fruits, those soft berries you were mentioning, Ica. There's a little bit of acidity almost as well comes through from
like
the wine.
Currant, like red currant. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
a little bit, and the little bit of the pepper kick, not so prominent like in the origin, but it's there. There's a glimpse, and the creaminess. It's like you can chew it. The creaminess is very, very good.
Yeah. What's interesting and what I like about all of our whiskies as well is that so even at that young age, you've got that long finish, that nice full fatty mouthfeel at the end, and it just keeps going and giving kind of thing, which you don't always find in the younger whiskies, and that's kind of something which we really like.
The aftertaste is a little bit on the shorter side, maybe due to the younger age, but it says drink more, taste the new one, take the next sip. And you're not disappointed when you take it.
Like my friends over in Scotland say, Moorish. Give me more. Very Moorish.
So your core range is 3 bottlings at the moment. Will you, are there any plannings to extend this, or will it stay this 3 bottlings and do the rest by single casks?
So at the moment, what we're going to do is we're going to have there's going to be the three products in the core range for 2023. I mean, knowing that we only actually launched the brand in August of last year, this is very, very new kind of thing. So we're going to work with that core range for 2023. We'll, again, when we're looking to grow a global brand, and we are a small craft distillery, so there's only so much you can dilute your range to be able to kind of develop the volume around the world. There'll be a 4th product which will be brought on in 2024. That will no doubt have a basis of virgin cask, because that's we're doing a lot of work around the virgin casks at the moment. And then there's going to be some limited editions. We're working at the moment at a kind of on a kind of new series of whiskey, which is going to have things in which are completely different stuff that we've done, which is creative, which is different from, for example, we've done some triple distilling, not easy with 2 stills. We've done a Christmas malt, with a proper Christmas malt, with a real crazy mash bill, with it's had Manuka smoked malt, chocolate malt, toffee malt, and things like that. So that kind of stuff we'll do in a limited edition, limited release to certain markets, on kind of allocation. And then afterwards there'll be the single casks as well. So I think there'll be kind of a 3-stage to it. There'll be the core range, which will gradually grow, but very, very slowly in terms of products. There'll be this limited edition series, which will release to show some of the creativity of the distillery, and then there'll be those single casks.
But those will come to Germany as well, as you said. They will come to several markets.
Yes, hopefully you'll get those.
May I ask a question regarding the mash bill? As you said it now twice. If you're talking about mash bill, is this always malted barley, or do you consider using something other?
Always malted barley.
Always, okay. But so you're just saying about the chocolate malt and the different types of barley there.
So that's just what they've taken the distiller's malt and they've done roasting, just roasting and different smoking.
I was a little bit considering, because as we have our bourbon guy here with Jason, that I had in my mind, so the Americans do so crazy mash bills, and so I was a little bit worried. So great.
No, this was just have a bit of fun. We've got we're lucky that in New Zealand we have got a couple of maltsters who do that for us. So we can play around about with a single malt in there. We don't want to do it too often. It's like anything. We say that we try and be sensible 11 months of the year, and then for the last month of the year we just have a bit of fun, and that tends to be where the crazy thing comes from. Every year we come up with ideas, we brainstorm ideas and go, let's do this or let's do that, and let's have a go, kind of thing, which is fun.
Are there any plans to do a smoky one, or is this future? So
this Christmas malt is smoky.
What Christmas malt is smoky.
What kind of smoke do you use?
Manuka smoked malt.
Oh.
So the Manuka wood, so Manuka smoked malt. You might know it through the honey, the Manuka, but the Manuka smokes. That's got a particular type of smoke to it. That's the only smoky whiskey that we've done. We're not doing any peated whiskey at all. We're just using 100% unpeated barley, and again, that was my choice to try not to do it. And also, we can only diversify so much as a small distillery. It's very important to me that although we're a craft distillery and we do all the cuts are done by hand, we have automated the brewing and distilling process quite highly. The reason for that is that craft doesn't mean different every time. We want to give you guys the same whiskey time and again. So I don't want to be breaking that process up too often. So it's all about keeping consistency. Like I say, for 10, 11 months of the year, and then 1 month a year, we'll have a bit of fun and play around.
So if one of your experience, I don't get the word in English now. Experiments. Experiment? Yeah, experiments,
Yep.
huh?
Experiment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
Is going to be very successful. What will you do with this experience, with this knowledge?
Listen, we've had quite a few experiments already that have been very successful that I've gone, damn, I should have done more of that kind of thing. The prohibition is a good example of that. Absolutely fantastic. So yeah, we'll do
Do
more.
it again and wait 3 to 4 years. It's very easy, isn't it?
Exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, you do. Okay, perfect.
So that was the whole idea, and it's very, that's the cool thing about starting off as well. You do lots of experiments, and you do some work, some don't work, some are good, and some, the ones that are good and the ones that are very good, then you roll out again, kind of thing. So yeah, as Jason says, that's what we're doing at the moment.
Do you have a visitor center? If someone of us is coming to New Zealand, can we visit the brewery, the distillery? Yes.
Yes, you can. So we've got a very, very small visitor center. I mean, we built the distillery as a working distillery, not as a visitor attraction. Where we're situated, we're kind of 35 to 40 minutes away from Auckland, in a small village, so that it doesn't get that many people kind of traveling down to visit the distillery. But yeah, we have a small visitor center. We do tours and tastings on a Saturday. And we opened that to the public in September last year. It's being incredibly popular, so it's something we're going to keep going. But on a Saturday, what we try and do is, Saturday is the only day the distillery is not actually operating, and kind of, because health and safety regulations in New Zealand, is very difficult to get people up close when the distillery is actually functioning. So what we do is prefer to do that on a Saturday. We can get people up close to the stills, really get in and look at different stuff, which is why I think we just continue doing that one day a week.
Another reason, and to keep in mind, if someone is going to New Zealand, it's on my bucket list, because I want to go to the Hobbing set as a big Lord of the Rings fan. And New Zealand is the dream country for every Lord of the Rings fan.
You've been watching Amazon's latest series on Prime.
It has its highs and lows, but overall I liked it.
Yeah. I'd not watched it. I watched a couple of episodes yesterday, but my wife told me about it. It's actually quite good.
The optics and the visuals, some of them are really astonishing if they go in the broader landscape and use the New Zealand landscape.
Yeah,
it's the same as in the original Peter Jackson movies. If in the moment they use the beautiful nature, it's always a fantastic moment.
Yep.
Although a lot of fans did complain.
Did they? Okay.
A lot of fans really complained about it when it was released, because it's far off from the book.
Yeah,
I have my complaints as well, but I can neglect them and say, okay, it's a different story, and I enjoy it now. So,
yep.
Okay, let's head to the last whiskey, the Discovery.
So the Discovery, what we've done here, again, we've taken a percentage of first fill bourbon casks, and we've taken a percentage of sherry casks this time. So what we did is, when we were playing around with this product, I was playing around with different sherries, and I started by playing around just with one sherry. I was trying PX or Oloroso or Moscatel, etc. I wasn't quite getting what I wanted, so I then started combining the sherries. So okay, I'm not getting what I wanted, so let's combine, let's have a play, and let's see how we get there. So what we've done here is we've taken a percentage of whiskey which has been fully matured, not only in PX but also in Oloroso. So, and then put that together with a percentage of first fill bourbon casks, and then put that back into cask. What I actually find interesting, this mixture of Oloroso and PX. I find that it kind of tempers down a little bit the PX, which is not a bad thing. I didn't want to over dominate those citrus notes. So you're still getting those citrus notes on the nose a little bit initially before the sherry takes over. And then of course the sherry does take over, kind of thing. It's very difficult to hold that back at a certain point. But I just found that those kind of slightly savory notes of the Oloroso just kind of added a little bit of complexity to the product, which is why we decided to go with that rather than go with just a pure PX or a pure Oloroso. Natural color, again, crazy color for a whiskey of that age, kind of thing. Yeah, Really crazy color for whiskey at that age. But yeah, that's just, again, quality of the casks and quality of the maturation kind of thing, the rapidity of that maturation.
And the question here is
the earthquakes in New Zealand, does they affect the maturation in the warehouses?
So, good question. Actually, apparently in the North Island, we're told that we don't get earthquakes. I don't believe that. We had a 5 Richter one the other day, but nothing like the South Island. So nothing like Christchurch, etc., and the rest of it.
No.
So yeah, the easy answer to that is hopefully not, because we stack our barrels as well. We don't rack our barrels. We stack them on pallets, and we stack them seven high in the warehouses. So if there was a big earthquake, it could get a bit messy. But no, we
hope you have a good insurance.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and the insurance tell us there's no earthquakes in North Island, so we should be okay.
As long as they pay in case of emergency.
That's right. But no, we're pretty protected from any major, for the time being, any major earthquakes in the North Island kind of thing. So no major issues there. It's not like terrible things in the South Island.
Were there any difficulties getting these sherry casks over to New Zealand, because it's a long trip on a boat and there's a lot of heat sometimes? How did you manage that?
So we make sure that we ask them to leave some sherry in the bottom of the casks.
Okay, yeah.
So the only way of doing that to not dry out is we ask them to leave a couple of liters of sherry in the bottom of the casks, and when the casks get to us, we drain the casks at our end and then we fill them. That's the only way of keeping a little bit of freshness in them. It takes me on average to get a container out of Spain. It will take 8 to 10 weeks.
No.
Is that never trust statistics or never trust insurers? That's sort of the question.
A little bit of both, I guess.
How much is the
as well?
Sorry?
Do you have port casks as well?
Port casks, yes. So we've done some trials on port casks. For the time being, we've only got a few in the warehouse, but we're getting some interesting. So we didn't actually do port. We did what they call apera out of Australian port casks. Mm-hmm. So you can't call them port, you can call them apera, etc. We wanted to do some trials at the start just with that, and they're actually giving some really, really nice results. So again, that's something I think we'll be releasing as some single casks towards the end of this year. But yeah, getting some really, really, some real cool tasting profiles, which I didn't expect.
How much is the shares here in ex-bourbon casks and the sherry casks? Again, these 2/3 to 1/3, or
it's
is it more sherry?
Approximately 2/3 to 1/3. I mean, there's slightly more first fill bourbon in this than there was in the wine one, because we didn't want the sherry to dominate too much. So you're probably 3/4 a quarter kind of thing. You've got a pretty homogeneous mix between the Oloroso and the PX as well. It's not there's not an over dominance of one in the other kind of thing in terms of percentages.
Yes,
do you know how old the sherry was?
Sorry?
Do you know how old the sherry was? Which was
how old the sherry was? Yes. Yeah, so we've what I do on the PX, I don't on the Oloroso. On the PX, we're bringing butts across from Miguel Martin, and we tend to bring the 15-year-old and 30-year-old butts across. So old sherry butts. On the Oloroso, it's the hoggies, so I'm guessing it's going to be fairly young.
And as you're saying, there's a good sherry note there, but there's not overwhelming. And I really had to dig to get the typical nuts and almond notes that I get normally from an Oloroso sherry. They're there, but you need to dig to them.
Yeah. Like I said, we didn't want to over-dominate. It's not a sherry bomb. The aim of this wasn't to make a sherry bomb. We've done a couple of single cast sherry bombs, full PX butts, etc. and the rest. But on this one, we wanted to still kind of showcase the spirit, but have those sherry elements kind of accompany and complement rather than dominate.
Yeah, and I have from the ex-bourbon, I think have a good caramel note there, and again, a lot of sweetness.
Actually, the vanilla and the sherry somehow create a new type of caramel, I think, as well. Very, very nice. Now, Matt, how are you going to embrace or try to prevent batch variations? That's one of the things is, as a whiskey consumer, we buy the one bottle and then a year later it tastes a little bit different or maybe a lot different. How are you going to help us as consumers, and what's your plan?
Yeah. So as far as the kind of, let's take the example of Discovery, for example, what we're making Discovery is that Discovery will always have the same age profile and the same cask profile all the way along. So we have, for the next kind of each year, we've laid down a certain amount of Oloroso, a certain amount of PX, a certain, etc., and we'll tap into those same ages. So we're keeping stock back to age, of course we are, for future additions for further products, but we're not going to evolve Discovery, etc., to an older whiskey because we're happy with the way it's sitting at the moment. The older whiskey will be used for other stuff. When we're doing our vatting, so we select every cask and we nose every cask before we empty it. Okay, so it's this process of nosing and tasting every cask before we actually empty it. We'll then put the vattings together, but when we're putting the vattings together, we'll lab vat with a certain percentage, etc., to make sure we're getting the same profiles at the time. So it's not although the percentages is a guide, it's not fixed in stone, because for us it's about the profile. So it's about making sure that profile is the same every time. And obviously with vat sampling, we're putting back into the same casks. We're only using those casks once. So we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure that profile stays. Again, whiskey is a living product, but stays as close as, damn it, that we can get it to what it was before.
Good luck.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
You can tell me next year.
Gladly.
So what made you choose?
Repeat it, Ash, please.
What made you choose Germany as one of the first countries to export to?
I mean, Germany is a great single malt market, but there's a lot of kind of, real good whiskey amateurs in Germany. So it's a market for us that we wanted to go into. We've had a long relationship with Kamera as well. I've known them for a long time. So it was, it made sense as well, because we wanted to develop with long-term partners in the market as well, and people we trust as well. So it was very, very important to us to make sure that with our long-term partner in Germany was somebody we knew well and trusted well, etc. And the rest of it, so that was vital. So when I was talking to Gerald about it at the start, it was kind of, it sounded, we're both very keen about doing this. So yeah, no, we're focused on, like I said, we're focused on some core markets at the start. We want to grow and accompany those markets. And yeah, Germany is a great single malt market.
I wanted to add some notes that I get on the notes. It was someone I really liked. It was like milk coffee, and those one that you put a little bit of cacao or chocolate on top on the milk cream.
Mochachinos.
Yeah. And it's all combined with the hints of berries from the sherry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's a lovely nose, yes.
And that's one reason that not a lot of people do this now, but filling back into cask for allow it to marry together, etc., and the rest of it. But by doing that, it definitely helps the coherence of the product. It definitely helps it come together, kind of thing. The homogeneity of that product when you taste it, you can definitely tell the difference, kind of thing, for products that have been assembled just in a vat and assembled products that have been put back into barrels.
German market over Asian markets.
Yeah, we've not launched into any Asian markets yet. We'll be launching into a couple of Asian markets this year. I keep saying next year. I can't convince myself.
Yeah, me neither.
So this year we'll be launching to a couple of Asian markets. But yeah, so initially it was very European centric. So it's obviously France and Germany, the UK, although obviously not in Europe anymore, and the US.
Cool. It's still the European continent, so
still the European continent. Yeah.
Are you planning to visit the markets you have introduced your whiskey so far?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you are coming to Germany?
I will come to Germany this year.
Okay. To a whiskey festival or something?
I'm not sure. We're working at the moment with Gerald and the team about when the best time to come over is. But there'll definitely be a trip over to Europe this year. So.
Okay, let us know.
Will do.
And I want to try now. So I have seen Manuel has tried already, but the others.
I already sipped because
cheers.
you were so much into it, so I already tried it. Matt, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? What kind of whiskey do you like beside your own one?
Listen, I mean, it's going to be no surprise to learn that I like my sweet and smooth whiskies. you can see the whiskey that I've made, kind of thing. I don't know if I've got any particular favorites. I've got like you, I've got a very big whiskey collection. I kind of dip in and dip out. I tend to go through periods as well where I'm into my sherried whiskies, then I'm into my Islay whiskies, then I'm into etc. It kind of moves around. But typically it will be the kind of Highland Speyside kind of sweet smooth. Mortlock's a favorite of mine. Highland Park, Glenmorangie, obviously. But yeah, I've got no. The way I see it is that any single malt whiskey a distiller has put his heart and soul into making. So any single malt whiskey needs to be treated with the respect that for the time and the energy that's been put in there. And there's no bad whiskey. Every whiskey is different. Every whiskey's got something. So yeah, I just enjoy discovering. For me, it's all about discovering. I'm drinking more and more New World whiskies as well. Some of the English whiskies, as well, which are starting to do some pretty good things as well. I've been drinking quite a lot of Indian whiskies recently as well, discovering those as well, which is really fun.
Nice. We have some more questions from the chat. Is Japanese whiskey a big thing in New Zealand, and is Japan one of the countries you will be joining in your mark?
Yeah, I think we'd like to do something in Japan with the right partner. So it's a case of finding the right partner when we probably in the next 12 to 24 months. Japanese whiskey is big everywhere. Yeah, it's Japanese whiskey now has they've done some fantastic stuff, and it's the popularity of Japanese I think has soared all around the world, and New Zealand is no different from that. I mean, New Zealand is not an enormous single malt market. It's a growing single malt market. There's definitely kind of a nucleus of passionate people and very well kind of educated people in single malt whiskey in New Zealand, and that's gradually growing. And the market will definitely grow in the next few years as the distilling industry grows as well.
Speaking of Japan, do you have Mitsunara casks?
No.
I
did try to get some, but yeah, very expensive. Very expensive. Yeah.
And here was another question: will there be a brand ambassador for Germany or European for Pokeno?
Look, I think at the start, no. I think it's obviously difficult for a small distillery like ourselves to invest everywhere. So we all wear many different hats in the distillery today. So I think it's something we'll be doing ourselves definitely at the start. We're working with some fantastic distributors. So Gerald in Germany has got a fantastic team there as well, who are fantastic ambassadors for us and pushing the brand as well. But I think as a company ourselves, we're probably a few years from being able to actually put ambassadors into different markets. Hopefully one day we'll be able to.
So Kamakish usually have a booth at different whiskey fairs, and you can taste the products there. So
that's it.
Okay, I asked all my questions. Ash, Eike, Jason, do you have any questions to Matt for us?
I have a question regarding the Discovery whiskey, because I would describe it in the taste as the perfect smooth whiskey. It has no edges there, and this one is the first one I was hoping to get a bit more oomph, a little bit more alcohol there. For the first ones, I think 43% is the perfect sweet spot. Yeah. But this one, it's the first one I have the tendency to have more like 46 or maybe 48%. Is there the option that this is a future product to get it a little bit more for the more interested people? I think for the general market, this is a great one because it's so smooth.
Yeah,
but I think more.
What you'll see, and this will be very much the case in the limited editions this new series that we've not quite decided what we're going to call it yet, but that's going to come out middle of this year. There we're going to bottle them at a higher alcohol percentage. So there we're going to be kind of high 40s, early 50s. That's where we're going to be sitting with that kind of range, and that's the kind of range that we want to be. You know, like I said, it's the whiskies which are slightly out of the box, a bit more creative, and there, yeah, we're definitely aiming at a different consumer kind of thing. So those whiskies there will definitely be there. I think that the core range will keep at 43 because again, in a lot of markets, it's a tax thing as well. They don't want the higher alcohol percentage because it makes it too expensive in the market. So I think, yeah, definitely to answer your question, is there's some stuff coming at a higher ABV.
Great.
There's a question from the chat. Have you ever tried German whiskey?
No, I haven't, and it's something I do want to try. Which ones could you recommend?
Germany? Oh, there are several. There are several good ones in Germany so far. We can show you some if you come to Germany.
Yeah.
Perfect. I look forward to it.
I think in German whiskey you can get every possible variation in taste that you just can imagine, from the weirdest kind of smoke to the best kind of smoke to cask overloaded and fully natural bourbon casks, so you can get everything, and some really good rye whiskey.
So there's not one kind of profile or one thing which characterizes German whiskey. It's not, no.
The half-liter bottles is what Jason would say now.
Yeah, exactly. 500 milliliter bottles is what characterizes German whiskey. Yeah.
And high prices.
Yeah, okay. Higher prices. Yeah.
I think that was.
I think German whiskies are in a very good way. There are several distilleries which make very good whiskey so far, but this German whiskey is not any type of whiskey. It's like Scottish whiskey. There's not Scotch. There's so many different type of Scottish single malt whiskey, and the same in Germany.
Yeah, I think that was interesting that you were saying about the prices as well. Is that something that we were very conscious with Pokeno as well? Is that we wanted to position it very mainstream as well. We didn't want to go with those crazy high pricing to allow the consumers, you know, to go, to taste, to drink, to buy again, etc. And the rest of it. It was that positioning was very important for us as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we have a good view into the new Pokeno distillery. As I said, I have answered all my questions. Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you for your time to get up very early in the morning in your holiday.
All good. Thank you.
And thanks for Jason, Ash, and Eike for joining. If you have any other questions, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, I would Matt enjoy his last holidays.
His breakfast.
His breakfast,
yes.
Okay, well, look, guys, thank you. There's one more question, sir.
Okay, I don't get any questions. So thank you very much, Matt. Thanks for your time. It was a pleasure for me.
With you guys, and I hope to see you in Germany when I'm over.
Hope so too.
Yeah,
thank
please.
you very
I
much.
hope so too.
So do we.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.